Okay. Okay. So today we will discuss about electrical resistivity tomography. Okay. So when we do 1D resistivity survey, then it calls 1D survey for profiling or sounding, whatever you are interested in, horizontal mode or in vertical mode. Okay. And if we are interested to see subsurface features vertically as well as horizontally, okay, in 2D mode, then we call it as electrical resistivity tomography. Okay. And if we are interested to see subsurface properties in 3D mode, then we call it as electrical resistivity imaging. Okay. Just we get image of the subsurface when we are dealing with 3D, right? In compared to 3D, this electrical resistivity tomography 2D is much more uh, easily, if you see, not easily, its number of electrodes are not very large in this case, as well as it's easy to handle, and you can get I mean very good information using 2D as well. Okay. If you are interested to see the movement of plume and something that is very particular structure, then we commonly go for 3D. Okay. Otherwise 2D also work well. So today we will discuss about the application of 2D resistivity survey. Okay. That is called electrical resistivity tomography, ERT. So first of all, we will discuss uh, why we will using it. So today we will using it to identify the potential recharge. You, I must have idea that most of you have idea what is a recharge. Okay, recharge is the movement of water from surface to subsurface. Okay, if it is movement of water in a subsurface in unsaturated zone, it's called infiltration, and when it reach to saturated zone, then it's called recharge. Okay, so once we will discuss about the recharge, also we will discuss about the movement of water in vadose zone or unsaturated zone, right? So mostly I am using, particularly for electrical resistivity survey or electrical surveys, I am using groundwater, okay, hydrogeological problems, because I know that most of the terms you know very well. Okay. And the second thing, electrical resistivity, electrical method, not only electrical resistivity method, electrical method is very useful for hydrogeological expecting, right? So, uh, so first of all, why? Just a second. Okay, just a second. I'm coming within 2 minutes, right? Okay. So why we are doing recharge estimation using electrical resistivity tomography? We know that recharge estimation can be done using other various methods. Okay, infiltration or recharge, both we can do using laboratory test as well. But when we are doing it on mathematically also, numerical, lots of analytical methods are there. Okay, but when we are taking this core sample into labs, then what happened? First of all, we make it dry, core samples, and then we will saturate it, and then we will calculate what is the rate of flow vertically or horizontally, whatever. Okay, so but the problem is that we are when we are taking cores from this field, then we are reducing the pressure, overburden pressure. Okay, so we are collecting a small portion of the soil. Okay, it means we are not, it means we are disturbing the environment of the field environment, right? Other thing, um, not exactly the same situation. For example, when recharge will take place, then not only this 100% movement will or 100% saturation will take place within a very small time. Okay, there will be other factors also. For example, roots will be there. Okay, sunlight will be there, so evaporation, evapotranspiration, all these phenomena will take place, right? Roots will take water from the soil, so lots of environmental condition that we cannot bring to our laboratory. Okay, so that's why always uh, field based experiments are more useful. Okay, so if you define what is the recharge actually or potential recharge, then it's referred to water that has infiltrate and drain to a depth at which it may be assumed to recharge an aquifer at some time in the future. Okay, it means what? Sometime in the future. It means what? Ki your water is moving, okay, through unsaturated zone to saturated zone. So it takes time, right? Recharge always takes time. So whenever we are calculating recharge, we should know that time also. Okay, so then only we can calculate it appropriately. For example, if we are doing laboratory test, then what we are doing, we are saturating your sample or the laboratory sample immediately. Okay, it will not take time because the depth we are not considering here. Okay, so immediately we will saturate it. But in field, what happened? It will take time. That much of long distance it will cover. And during that long distance, it will, whatever the amount of water is coming from the top, okay, as a result of precipitation, okay, that will go down. Some of the water will move somewhere else as a subsurface runoff. Some of the water will we go back to the environment or atmosphere as a evapotranspiration. Some of the water will be there as a retention water in the unsaturated zone itself. Then very small amount of water will reach to your groundwater level. Okay, so it means what we are considering in laboratory is not the exact situation of the recharge, right? So recharge situation is completely different what we are getting in the field. So if we are not getting the actual results, then what could be the drawbacks? For example, your rainfall event was not so long, but if you are taking samples to your laboratory, you will consider that okay, whenever there is a rainfall, it means your sample is going to saturate. You don't have idea how much time it takes to get recharge. Okay, what is the time gap is there between rainfall event, initial rainfall event to the recharge, actual recharge, okay, potential recharge. So this time gap, okay, is very important. So if there is a very short event of rainfall, okay, then there is a chance that infiltration could take place, but recharge could not take place, okay. But if we are doing or calculating in laboratory, then we will consider immediately your sample is going to be saturate, okay, and you will calculate that recharge is taking place. Okay, so that calculation and laboratory based calculation and the field based calculation, if you compare, then you will find there is a huge difference. Okay, so we know this groundwater is very important, and our country, mainly our country, depends on the rainfall events for recharge process. Okay, so this gap, to understand this gap and how much water is actually reaching to the water table, okay, to renewable water resource as a renewable water resource. That is very important to estimate exactly. Then only you can tell the farmers to go for agriculture, okay. Otherwise, if your calculation is wrong, then you will give wrong information to the farmers. You will give wrong estimate to the farmers for water yield, right? So that's why in situ experiments or field-based experiments are always better. We, as a hydrogeologist, we always prefer, or hydrogeophysicist also you can call us. So we always prefer to do field-based investigations, right? And if you see other equation, for example, the most easiest equation that we can use for recharge estimation is called recharge equation, okay. So here recharge use the diffusivity constant, right? That depends on uh, I mean what amount of uh, saturation is there, okay, porosity is there, that is going to fill, okay. We do, I mean, uh, so diffusivity completely depends on that, okay. Already if the your porous media is already saturated, then diffusivity will be zero, okay. So it depends on theta in hydraulic head. So if you see here in this equation, then you need to calculate hydraulic conductivity, right? So you can calculate hydraulic conductivity. There are methods to calculate hydraulic conductivity. And if you see the equation, there is a H, there is a hydraulic head, and theta is the porosity, saturated and unsaturated. Whatever is there, you will take that result, okay? So this is derived from Darcy's equation. Easily you can see it, okay? And mass conservation equation as well. So if you see this equation, then lots of things are missing. For example, hydraulic conductivity is there. Okay, that's good. But hydraulic conductivity for unsaturated zone and for saturated zone are completely different. Hydraulic conductivity for unsaturated zone is vertically directed. Okay, whereas hydraulic conductivity for the saturated zone is dominated in horizontal component. Okay. Second, so you cannot consider hydraulic conductivity same for unsaturated zone as well as saturated zone. And second thing, to estimate what amount of saturation is taking place and what amount of void spaces are present. This is very complicated itself. Okay. And again, there is the evapotranspiration phenomena, there is the evaporation phenomena, lots of other phenomena are also present there, but we are not considering these phenomena here, okay. Just diffusivity, directly we are assuming this diffusive rate of diffusivity is recharge rate, okay. So that is not the case, very simple. This, I mean, it is recharge process, not that simple, right? And the equation here, if you see this equation, infiltration capacity, okay, is depending upon time, okay. Infiltrations, when infiltration start, and conductivity again, alpha is the constant that depends on the soil properties, okay, initial condition of the soil properties, okay. So whenever if you are making, for example, if you see the earlier condition, earlier equation, that is a very simple equation, but the problem is that is not sufficient, okay. So if you are adding, okay, it's also, the second one is also very old equation, okay. Now presently if you see, there are other equations are also present for potential recharge, and those equations are very complicated. So I have given a one example to see. If you are adding more and more variables, okay, then it means you are adding little bit of error factor as well. Whenever we are doing estimation, it means we are not 100% sure our estimation is correct. There must be some error factor. So if we are adding more number of variables, it means we are adding more number of error factor as well in our equation. For example, if you are talking about evapotranspiration, right? Evapotranspiration is a very, very complicated phenomena. Okay, it depends on wind speed, it depends on day temperature, it depends on sunlight hours. So lots of things on which this evapotranspiration depends. Okay, so it is still quite, I mean, we can say this is impossible to calculate very accurate evapotranspiration, and it's changing from latitude to latitude. Okay, because temperature is also changing, wind speed is also changing, everything is changing. So evapotranspiration is very, very complicated phenomena. So if you are adding all these parameters into your equation, it means you are complicating your equation more and more. It means you are adding more and more error factor in your equation. Okay, and that's why recently people are more dependent on these hydrogeophysical methods. Okay, even if you see GSI people and groundwater, for example, Central Groundwater Board, all are using electrical resistivity method to calculate in situ or field based uh, infiltration as well as field based recharge estimation. Okay, because that is comparatively easy, you don't need a lab. Okay, directly you can use your instrument, and in the field itself you can do experiment and you can calculate what is the recharge rate, and even you can see the movement of water as well. Okay. So um, for another thing, for example, if you are using electrical resistivity tomography, not sounding and profiling, electrical resistivity tomography, then you are using a large area. For example, if you are using 42 electrodes, right, and 42 electrodes with two, maximum you can go 5 meters spacing. Okay, don't go for five, even we are going for 2 meters spacing, then itself we are consuming very large area. Okay, so in um, for it is, we cannot say that this is a very point by based experiment. This method you can use for um, I mean comparatively large scale as well. Okay, not watershed scale but comparatively larger scale. Okay, this is another advantage. If somebody asks you what is the advantages of using electrical resistivity tomography over other method for recharge estimation, so you should know all these advantage. Okay, so so if you are using mass balance equation or any equation, then you need soil water estimation. Okay, soil water means in Wedo zone, what is the moisture contains, soil properties. Okay, soil properties is easy to estimate if there is only one type of soil is present, but commonly in field there are complex soil properties are present. I mean, mixing of soils are very common. Okay, stream and spring hydrograph, for example, commonly we assume that recharge is taking dominated by precipitation. Okay, but not necessary. If some surface water body is there, some stream is there, or some spring is there, okay, some river, pond, something, then recharge will take place through that water body as well. Okay, so we need to calculate separately that as well. Well levels, okay, what amount of water already, a groundwater level is already present. Okay, that is well inventory data you can get. Okay, precipitation data, how much precipitation, that is very important. Okay, for recharge estimation if you are using equations. Okay, and if you are using stable isotopes, then also this, that is a other way, potential evapotranspiration or evaporation. So that is a very complicated phenomena, and it's super difficult to calculate potential evaporation or evapotranspiration. Okay, because it depends on lots of parameters, right? But other hand, if you are using electrical resistivity tomography, then you don't need anything, okay, anything. Just you need to calculate what is the velocity directly, water velocity, okay, directly from your images, right? This is a huge advantage over the existing methods, okay. So other method you can use, that is a GIS based information you can collect. But the problem is that when we are using GIS, that give all the information that is present over the surface, right? Lineaments and water sample, vegetation, everything they will give, but that is over the surface, okay. So images taken from the long distance, right? One, scale problem could be there, and second, if you are getting information from the over the surface, that is not sufficient for you to estimate recharge, okay. People are using GIS for recharge estimation, but as a hydrogeologist, if you are working in central groundwater board, definitely you will not use GIS or completely depend on a GIS. You can field based experiments or GIS, you can relate to each other, and you can see how much differences are there and why differences are there. But 100% dependency is not suitable, okay, because whenever you are doing such kind of modeling, you only depends on the surface information, but this is a completely subsurface phenomena, okay. How much the depth of Wedo zone, that is a super important parameter, okay, and where the water tables are present, and if Wedo zone is present, then what is the saturation, okay. What is the aeration zone? Aeration zone means up to that zone where roots are present, okay, tree roots are present. So up to that zone, that evapotranspiration and evaporation we are commonly consider, that's very prominent. After that we can ignore, right? so so if you are using only data such as soil type, elevation, land cover, and climate parameters, so that will not give you actual image or actual quantitative information of the recharge process, okay. That could give a little bit idea about the infiltration, but infiltration is not recharge, because after infiltration also lots of processes could be take place. For example, subsurface runoff is a very common phenomena, okay. And after subsurface runoff, there is other phenomena. For example, evaporation, evapotranspiration in aeration zone, okay. So all these things are going to be occur, okay. And even saturation, for example, um, whenever infiltration will take place and you have unsaturated zone, so when it will go down, when saturation of that zone will take place, and then only it will move vertically down, okay. Otherwise it will, that soil will retain some amount of water, okay. Some amount of water, wettability also, it depends on wettability, how much water it can stuck over the surface of the soil, okay. That is a huge I mean mathematical relations are there. So it depends on that also. Type of soil, for example, if porosity is very low, then wettability factor will be high, okay. I mean greater amount of water will stuck over the surface, and then rest of the amount of water will move down, okay, affected by, influenced by gravity, okay, and it will reach to the water table. So lots of things you should know. Soil information is very important. So lots of information you need, and 100% dependency on these methods are not appreciated, okay. So intermediate, if you are going to estimate in intermediate scale, okay, not watershed scale, it is smaller than that, hundreds of meters, okay. Then for that case, it is difficult to do in situ or point based experiment. For example, one core is not enough to do analysis, okay. And even if you are taking a very large scale information, that is also not give you very accurate information. However, for hydrogeologists, it's very important for groundwater management or to calculate safe field. It's very important to calculate actual infiltration and actual recharge rate. Okay, so that's why geophysical methods are now very popular, right? And you don't need any further information directly. For example, if you are working for Central Groundwater Board, okay, why you need all these geological and soil property and lots of other information if you are able to calculate directly recharge using your instrument? That is, I mean, decrease your effort. Okay, unnecessary um unnecessary investigation or experiments is not required for that case. Okay, so geophysical methods are excellent for this application because of their scalability and mobility. Scalability, mobility means it's not a very in situ type of experiment. You can go for a larger scale, and also you can move your instrument for one area to another area. You can do such similar kind of experiment over a very number of places. Okay, okay. So volume of data set will be larger if you are using electrical array. Geophysical method. Whereas if you are using core sample analysis in laboratory tests, there are huge number of drawbacks, as well as you cannot collect number of core samples from different location. Okay, it is very costly. So you need to be dependent only one or two core sample only. Okay. So electrical techniques such as electrical resistivity tomography are particularly well suited for work in unsaturated zone. Okay, because of their ability to penetrate a useful depth with reasonable resolution in the field, and their high sensitivity to change in electrical property resulting from change in water content, right? So it means whenever, for example, subsurface information you can get very easily. Okay, just putting your electrodes and doing experiment. Okay, just start your fit some parameters and start your machine. It will collect all the subsurface image. Okay, or tomography, subsurface tomography, resistivity tomography, and this conductivity difference will give you the what is the amount of saturation. There are uh, equations are present. It will give you from directly from resistivity value to the saturation amount. Okay, so it will give you idea of the saturation in unsaturated zone, and also it will give you idea where the saturated zone is going to hit. We all know if the saturated zone is going to hit, resistivity value should be 50 to 200 or maximum 300, like that, within that. Okay, so we have idea about the saturated zone as well, so we can easily identify where the water table is going to hit. Okay, so it is very very useful for hydrogeological investigation, right? For example, this is one experiment. Okay, so how we can calculate recharge, right? So you can use tracer. Tracer means that is sensitive to your electrical resistivity machine, or that will give you some, or I mean, some value, some contrast of with environment to your solution or tracer, right? For example, saline water. Saline water means high conductive value. Okay, so resistivity will be very low. That will be resistivity value goes up to point 1 to 10. Okay, point 1 to 10 ohm meter. So that is very low. So we can easily identify it. Okay, if saline water is moving, then you can easily identify where it is actually. I mean, from the image, time dependent image. Okay, you can easily identify where your saline water is moving, how it is moving. So first advantage is that saline water is uh, highly conductive. So you can use electrical resistivity tomography to image its movement. Second advantage of saline water tracer is that the movement of water and the saline water are almost same. The similar way they both move. There is a small density variation is there. Because of that, the movement is not going to change very much. Okay, so it will give you very good idea how the water is moving within the subsurface, right? So you can use saline water, for example, in this figure. Okay, they are putting saline water from this tank, continuous supply of the saline water. Okay, in this trench. So slowly they are going to fill this trench. Okay, using saline water so that they can image it very easily. Okay, like that. They fill the trench and then they put these resistivity electrodes and they try to monitor it. Okay. So what is a potential recharge? Included measuring the temporal variation. Temporal variation means once you will do when you have started your saline water, you are considering as a recharge water. For example, precipitation. Whenever precipitation takes place, there is a continuous flow, controlled. For example, we measure it how much precipitation take place. So if we have idea, this is average rate of precipitation in this area. Okay, so you can control your this saline water uh, input in that range for that rate only. Okay, and you can put your electrodes over that trench and you can find out how this is moving. Because it is moving, so only one experiment is not enough. Okay, so you have to do time dependent experiments, right? So for time dependent experiment, what you will do, you will, for example, when you have started it at time 0, okay, again for next 6 hours you have to do another resistivity survey. Again after next 6 hours you have to do another experiment. Okay, commonly we go for 28 hours or for 24 hours or 48 hours, like that. It depends on the conductivity of the soil. If conductivity is very low, then your time interval will be large. Okay, and for longer time you will do it. And if hydraulic conductivity value for the soil is low, then your interval will be also very small, and your time span, complete time span will also be small. Okay, so what they did, 1.5 meter maximum root depth, they have make one trench approximately 1.5 meters so that water can stick there. Okay, commonly the situation occur, for example, whenever there is a rainfall event, then rainfall take place and um, it's I mean flooding take also there is a water logging take place now up to some depth. Okay, so similar kind of situation they try to make so that they can consider or they can make actual situation, field side situation. So they are assuming that if 1 meter is the root zone, okay, then after that there is a no evaporation or evapotranspiration. Okay, so after that completely potential recharge is taking place. So cumulative change in ERT derived water content profile were combined with rate of cumulative precipitation and PET over the same study period. Okay, potential evaporation, PET is the potential evapotranspiration. Okay, and cumulative precipitation. So these two information also you need to calculate it. Okay, and after that you can find out. So commonly we use ERT images like that. Okay, These are the background images. Bulk electrical resistivity distribution. Okay, sensitive distribution. This is sensitive distribution, and this is bulk electrical distribution. Okay, so it tells us that bulk electrical distribution means what? That the same amount, I mean, complete would not move that fast, but it will show you what is the direction of movement, right? So this is one that will show you the sensitive distribution, that will show you how this water, I mean saline water, is moving. Okay, so after that, commonly we use the curve tracing process, okay, to analyze the current voltage characterization, because here current voltage characterization, why? Because whatever we are getting from your instrument, that is voltage, okay, but we are calculating in terms of current. Why? Because resistivity or current, whatever, okay, we are supplying current, but what is the resistivity or conductivity, you can call it as well. Okay, that will give you idea how your plume or that saline water is moving within the subsurface. Using Ohm's law, you will calculate it very easily. Okay, so standard curve tracer, that is cathode ray tube we use commonly. Okay, so directly if you are using this one, then it will within a screen it will show you the relation between velocity, sorry, uh, potential as well as current, voltage and the current. Okay, for example, this, okay, this dot lines are the tracer. Okay, and this line is drawn using the voltage and the current relation. Okay, so if you see this tracer and this voltage and current relation, they are very very similar. Okay, so whatever the voltage and current relation we are getting, that will indicate you how the your tracer is moving. Okay, micro C1 means conductivity, in terms of conductivity, right? It is high, and then it's going low. Okay, similarly potential is also going to change from high to low slowly. So it means whenever you are injecting your saline water, that is showing very high. Okay, and slowly it's going towards downward, its movement is downward. So at that point its value is going down, because most of the water with time is going downwards. Okay, I mean tracer, the amount of tracer is moving from this point, okay, at that point, and the concentration is going down, right? So this is the conductivity distribution, and this is resistivity distribution, that is almost similar. Okay, just inverse each other and will give you, so it will showing you how this saline water is moving down. Okay, and it's reaching to water table, right? So this is a way we can calculate uh, recharge. We can estimate the recharge very easily using electrical resistivity tomography. Other experiment, what's the time now? Okay, 15. Okay, fast, very fast time will go. Another experiment I will discuss here, that is a very small experiment. And not only recharge estimation you can do, you can Wedo's water movement also. Wedo's zone. Wedo's zone means unsaturated zone. Water movement also you can estimate using electrical resistivity tomography. Why it is important? Because we know there is a lots of activities take place in Wedo's zone. For example, uh, what type of crop you will develop in agricultural land, it depends on the movement of water in the Wedo's zone. Okay, and second, what could be the movement of contamination? For example, if there is a polluted area, okay, what will be the movement of contamination in the subsurface, or how much time it will take to reach up to what depth? You This is also under Wedo's zone movement, what Wedo's water movement. Okay, so there are lots of other use, use also for Wedo's water movement. Okay, For example, fractures are there. Okay, if you are doing investigation in South India, right? So most of the aquifers are fractured aquifer. So what is the time? Widow zone would be the weathered formation. So what is the widow zone movement and when it will reach the fracture? Okay, for artificial recharge also, widow zone water movement is very important. Okay, so there are lots of application of widow's water movement. So if similarly, if you are doing, you're taking sample, core sample and doing experiment in laboratory, that is also you are disturbing the environmental condition. So it is always preferable if you do field scale investigations. Okay, so field scale best investigation is electrical resistivity tomography. Okay, so environmental purpose, not only hydrogeological purpose, for also environmental purpose, it's very useful. Okay, agriculture purpose, hydrogeological, already we know the hydrogeophysics and hydrogeology is a very important branch where you can use geophysical methods, particularly electrical resistivity or electrical methods. Okay, so other branches, for example, agriculture and environmental science, there also these geophysical methods are very useful. So to visualize the flow in fractures or in widow zone, ERT is very useful. Okay. Okay. Otherwise, okay. If you have any question, ask me before going. Next class, I will discuss. No problem. Do you have any question? Anyone? What happened? MSc students are also not asking any question. Hello. Are you able to hear me or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. मुझे लगा कि आप लोग को सुनाई नहीं पड़ रहा होगा कुछ. Okay, so no question. Okay, so I should finish it. Okay, that is a small one. So ERT were conducted before, during the controlled infiltration of water. Okay, so in recent year, considerable attention has been given to the role of unsaturated zone in contamination transport and storage. And storage means artificial recharge and other things. So we already discussed about how complicated it is to estimate water movement in unsaturated or saturated zone, right? It's a very complicated process. And geophysics, application of geophysical method make it easy. Okay. Now, actually, this is earth science. Okay, our department is earth science. I like this very much because if you see in USA and other developed country, they don't distribute it, okay, as a geophysics or hydrogeology and like that. So they uh, all scientific, if you see the scientific experiment, they use geophysics as a hydrogeological work as well. And they don't consider that is a separate branch. If you need it, then need it. Then you can use it. Okay, like that. So the boundary condition for the infiltration experiment present in this paper. I'm taking this experiment from one paper. So they in this paper they consider that the boundary condition in this paper is constant head. Constant head, even in the last experiment also for recharge estimation, we consider as a constant head boundary condition. What is constant head? It means your water supply is constant. Okay, from where your water is going to infiltrate into the widow zone, that is a constant. So if you are using a trench or you are using a hole, okay, it means you are fill the water in that borehole or in that trench or in a line, whatever you can consider, okay, uh, fill that, then the rate of movement of water will be constant. But if you are putting your water in a particular time interval, again you are stopping, and then again you are giving water to that, then it's not constant, okay. So in this experiment also, they are considering it is constant head. Okay, continuous water source, constant head at a point about 3 meters below the surface, the end of a shallow screen hole. So they make one hole in this squeeze, okay, and they make 3 meter hole, shallow hole, okay, using auger. Auger is an instrument. They move this auger and they try to drill a hole. Okay, 3 meter hole we can easily drill it using auger for a period of 2.5 hours. So continuously they put water. Infiltration was monitored to a depth of 17.3 meters during 23 hours period. This is also a similar kind of experiment. Earlier people use saline water, okay, whereas in this case, because this is unsaturated zone, your experiment in unsaturated zone, so you can no need to use saline water. Directly you can use water, because you are considering your environment is high resistivity zone. So whenever you are putting water and making it saturate with using your water, that will make you low resistivity zone, okay. So you can make easily differentiate both the high resistivity zone and low resistivity zone. So if you are doing experiment for unsaturated zone, then there is a no need to put saline water, okay. If you are doing experiment for saturated zone, for example recharge estimation, then you need to put saline water, so that the resistivity contrast you can see, then only you can interpret your image. Otherwise, if there is a no resistivity contrast, then it will be very difficult for you to interpretation part, okay. So field study, to image the resistivity distribution between two boreholes, several electrodes are placed in each hole, okay. So again, there are approximately 42 electrodes they have used to see how these water from the hole are moving, what direction as well, okay. Direction means it will take time, again time dependent. This part you already know, because in the theory part we have discussed two electrodes are driven by a known current and resulting voltage difference is measured between the other pairs of electrodes. This part is you well known, okay. So they did this volume in liters and time in days, right? So it up to 75 or 70 days they did all this experiment, okay. It means the conductivity of the Vadose zone is quite low, okay. And they found the movement of water. This is the movement of water, how it is moving, right? So they found that they are increasing the saturation zone, okay. Here blue color shows that the very good uh, amount of water is present, right? And slowly it's moving down and down, okay. This amount of saturation, yellow color is showing that wettability, not 100% saturation, you should not consider here. Just blue color is more saturated, I mean 100% saturation you can consider in this case. But wettability of the soil is spreading over the time, right? This is for 1 to 3 boreholes, 3 different conditions, okay. So it will tell you the hydraulic conductivity as well. There is a no need to do pumping test and slug test even. The movement of water velocity you can calculate based on the distance and time, right? Hydraulic conductivity of unsaturated zone, you can easily in situ hydraulic conductivity you can calculate it. If you are using saline water, you can also calculate hydraulic conductivity of the saturated zone as well. So if you can see that how much useful these electrical, I mean geophysical instruments, right? No need to take samples and anything, soil investigation and temperature and climate condition, nothing. Just directly you can estimate the movement of water. Okay, so two example we have discussed for using ERT. Okay, because in this case we are using mainly we are discussing about hydrogeological problem because ERT is widely applicable. Okay, widely applicable. All this big project, if you see, for example, CGWB is doing a very big project. Okay, that is completely based on ERT. That Indo-Gangetic Plain, how much that recently Professor Mukhopadhyay, what's the A. Mukhopadhyay from IIT Kharagpur, he gave Bhatnagar award, na hydrogeologist. So his experiment is that his complete research is that hydrogangetic plain is losing its water volume very fastly, right? Very fast reduction in water volume in endogangetic plain. So most of this experiment they are doing, that is based on water chemical analysis, hydrochemical analysis, as well as geophysical based. Okay, he is a hydrogeologist, basically hydrogeologist. I mean, his background is geology, but he's using lots of geophysical instrument for his experiments. Okay. So, do you have any question?
No, ma'am.
No. Very good. So it is easy, right? Okay. So in the Thursday we will discuss about gravity and magnetic. Okay, and Monday we will discuss some gravity magnetic problems. Right? Okay then.